So yeah, for question 17 from the homework, we're given this reaction, 2 moles of aluminum solid react with 3 moles of diatomic chlorine to produce 2 moles of aluminum chloride. We're told we start with, 0.5 moles of aluminum and 1 mole of chlorine. We want to find out how many grams of excess reactant are left over. So this is a limiting reagent calculation. We want to find out basically of these how much we'll need. And so what I would do is basically say, all right, if I have 0.5 moles of aluminum, right, I can't compare moles of aluminum and moles of chlorine because they're different units. I want to get them in the same units. So we could convert both of them to moles of aluminum trichloride and then figure out what's the limiting reactant and then work backwards and find the mass. We could also just use the mole ratio right here to basically say, oh, okay, if I have this much aluminum, I need this amount of chlorine and vice versa. So we know based on the mole ratio, for every 2 moles of aluminum in the reaction, I need to have 3 moles of chlorine. So based on that, I think we're going to have 0.75 moles of chlorine that we would need. 0.5 times 3/2. Yeah, 0.75 moles of chlorine. So we don't even have to do the calculation for chlorine because we've identified that aluminum, right? Aluminum limits the reaction. Based on the aluminum, I need 0.75 moles of chlorine. I have 1. So that means I have excess chlorine. Does that make sense?
How do you know? They know aluminum limits it because it has a smaller.
Yeah, we can do the same calculation for chlorine. So let's just do the calculation for chlorine. Okay, I've got 1 mole of chlorine. I know based on this reaction, for every 3 moles of chlorine, I'm going to need 2 moles of aluminum. Right, so moles of chlorine cancel out. So based on the 1 mole of chlorine, right, I would need 0.66 moles of aluminum for this reaction to go, right, all the way. I don't have 0.66 moles of aluminum. I only have 0.5. So we can do both of those calculations to confirm. But we got it right here when it said, okay, based on a 0.5 mole of aluminum, I need 0.75 moles of chlorine. I have that and some. So that means I've got more than enough chlorine for the reaction. When all of the aluminum is consumed, when the 0.5 moles of aluminum is consumed, I'm going to consume 0.75 moles of chlorine. Yep, I can accommodate that because I have more than enough. So we use a calculation for chlorine as well to say, okay, based on the chlorine, how much aluminum would I need? I would need 0.66 moles of aluminum. I don't have that. I only have 0.5 mole. So that means I'm going to have chlorine left over. I could make more. I could use more. I don't have enough aluminum in that reaction. So now to find, right, how many grams of excess reactant are left over? Well, I had 1 mole of chlorine. I used 0.75 moles, or I'm going to use 0.75 moles of chlorine. So I've got 0.25 moles of chlorine left over in this reaction, excess. So the last step, right, moles to mass, okay, 0.25 moles of chlorine. I go to the periodic table. Chlorine itself, right, is 35.45 grams per mole. So that means diatomic chlorine is going to be 70.9 grams per mole. All right, for every 1 mole of diatomic chlorine, I'm going to need 70.9 grams. Moles of chlorine cancel out, and 0.7 0.25 times 70.9. And I get about 17.725 grams of chlorine. Three significant figures based on the moles that we started with, sort of three significant figures, right, in scientific notation, 1.77 e to the 1 grams of chlorine for that reaction. Be careful. These are variables, right? So your moles of aluminum, your moles of chlorine might be different. The steps to solve that problem will be the same though. We want to find the limiting reagent, so we can use these mole ratios right here to basically say, given this much aluminum, I would need this much chlorine, or vice versa, for that question.
Where did the 0.25 moles of CO2 come from?
The 0.25 moles of chlorine came from right up here. We knew based on the half a mole of aluminum, I'm going to use 0.75 moles of chlorine. Well, I started with 1 mole, I used 0.75. So this is what was left over after all the aluminum was consumed. I had 0.25 moles of chlorine left over. The question was asking how many grams of excess reagent. So I had to find first how many moles of excess reagent, and then we can convert that to grams of excess reagent.